Hi, my name is Jordan, and this is the second video in which is a small series serving as a retrospective / expose of all the things that I've found and discovered after 11 years or so working in the men's dating and relationship coaching niche. So I've been asked in private to say a few things about the concept of a natural with women. What does it mean to be a natural with women? And specifically, how does it work? And it is known within this world that some men are naturals with women. They never had to put any effort in at all into becoming good, attractive, in flow, to live in abundance with women, right? And the natural stands in stark contrast to what the contrivance, the contrived man who had to learn all this stuff in order to become attractive to women, or in order to experience his sense of abundance. He had to go on a lot of coaching and workshops and do a lot of work and do a lot of practice and read a lot of books, and bit by bit, through his own graft and effort, he became something looking like a bit of a natural, but actually he is completely contrived and put together. All right, I'm laughing and playing with this a little bit. And so within this scene, I think there's a longing of a lot of men to be a natural in some way. And if we're not already naturally attractive to women and we don't naturally experience a lot of abundance, we would certainly like a kind of coaching or mentoring that leads us into reconnecting or connecting to some aspect of us that is natural, so that we uncover this innate, inherent aspect of ourselves that is naturally attractive, naturally valuable, naturally good enough, naturally worthy of love, and can live in abundance. Nobody seems to want to be the homeschooled, grifter, contrived version. And over the years, I've had the opportunity to hang out with a number of men who you would consider naturals with women, and I've had the opportunity to hang out with a number of grifters, kind of self-schooled in all the methods, and they've ended up having a lot of success as well, experiencing a lot of abundance with women. And it's really interesting to just see the personalities, look into a little bit the psychology of such men, and see what the effects and ramifications are in their relationships to women. How do they feel, right? If I look at this man who's natural or an unnatural and see him relating to this woman, or he brings his girlfriend to a party or something, like what is the feeling of their intimacy? And do I feel compelled to go in that direction as well? A lot of this is really looking for mentoring figures. And I think as a young man, figuring out key areas of life, like the area of women and romance and sexuality and so on, it's really important for us to have real life reference points, men that we can look up to and take things from, and even men that we can look up to and critique a little bit as models for how to be and how not to be. So I think the search to know men and to see these things in the world, in the flesh, is really, really important. So in this video, I'm going to uncover a little bit the 5 principles of a natural. Talk a little bit about naturals and try and demystify this whole thing, so that it hopefully is less beguiling, and even more hopefully gives you a path forward into true, deep, transformational work that is successful and has you in touch more with your own true nature, essentially. So the first thing that I want to talk about, which we would be silly if we didn't talk about, is the biological aspect of being naturally attractive to the opposite sex, right? So if a man has a higher testosterone count, that does convert into a larger amount of raw male penetrative energy, and it seems that women are magnetized towards higher testosterone unconsciously and automatically. Some people would also put an argument out there for looks, symmetrical looks. That's kind of nature's way of giving you the ultimate hand up. But in my personal experience, there is nothing really to say about this. So in 11 years of traveling and studying the attraction between men and women under a microscope, I have seen many, 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 many times where you have a beautiful man, completely symmetrical, tall, well dressed. Everything is perfect as if he's ordered from the catalogue. And he will attract a woman, and I'll see the woman he was with the next day, and she will be utterly disappointed to the point of bitterness, which is, I fell for this tall, good teeth, symmetrical looking man in the bar. I really wanted him. He represents everything I think I'm attracted to. But I took him home and I realized that he doesn't have a core. And that lands on me like a wet blanket. So yeah, symmetry is attractive, but the shelf life of being attractive to women just because you're symmetrical is extremely short, because if you don't have a core, there's nothing for her to actually trust and want to stick around with. And it's much more impressive how you get a guy who is butt ugly, but filled with a vitality and a life force, yet high testosterone, or there might be just some kind of passion that permeates his being, and he's endlessly compelling. And I've been amazed by what I've seen with men who have an incredible amount of raw masculine drive, no matter how ugly they are. Women don't just gravitate towards them in the short term, but want to stick around for the long term. So this is a place to look towards, yeah, biologically, materially, in the physical body, there can be a strength of male energy that is compelling, a natural gift, which can be worked on, of course, with gym and diet and so on, but there is an innate natural gift there. I think it's worth saying something at this point in terms of pure electricity or attractiveness, that a man who is stocked up, this is going to sound esoteric, but it's very, very true. A man who is stocked up with orgasmic energy running through his body is also like a magnet from women. And this might happen whether you're doing esoteric partner practices with a woman, which I've certainly spent some time exploring and doing, or even esoteric orgasmic practices yourself, stimulating and circulating your own orgasmic energy. You can charge yourself up full of electricity and then go out and hit the town. And certainly when I've been exploring this kind of esoteric orgasm practice, I've gone out and without any discernible uptick in skill, kindness, good looks, dress, anything like that, I've had women follow me around like I'm the Pied Piper of Hamelin, just because they feel an electricity circulate my body. And you probably know this is true, because if you sleep with a new woman and it's a good experience and it's a good orgasm, and especially if she has an orgasm or some orgasms with you, and you feel an opening of your spirit, then the next day you go out into the world and not only is your T count up because of the victory and the conquest, but also you've still got some female orgasm brimming through your body. And men will often say, I didn't have sex for 6 months, but then I had it once, and I had it twice, and I had it 3 times, all within the same week. So there is really something to this. And I'll actually tell you at the end where you can get in touch with some of the orgasm energy producing exercises that I'm talking about here. So this is one piece to natural attraction in a very esoteric way. So let's have a look a little bit in the psyche of what you would call a natural. And I'm not sure if there are any real naturals. Like, you just got born and you were a natural with women. You just got born, yeah, maybe you were brimming with a biological advantage, or you were just given in such a way, or you climbed through the trauma or obstacle course so that your sexual energy could fill your whole body and you were just brighter, more electric as a person. Yeah, that exists. But if you look in the psyche of a natural, I think we're formed, actually. It's much more to do with conditioning than it is culture. And so there is a whole area which I will call seduction styles. And as we're children growing up, we need to secure for ourselves security, like enough to eat, but also emotional security and validation and acceptance. All of these things are of prime importance for the survival of a child. And so what you will do as a child is that you will start to look up to your mother and your father, and you will cue off them. What do my parents need from me in order for me to get the things I want? Validation, love, security. just another cookie, just another hour watching TV at night. They want to send me off to bed, it's a school night, but I really want to watch the next program. How do I then seduce my parents into getting what I want? And some little boys grow up and they become very compliant, right? I'll just be a good boy and hopefully then I'll get what I want. It turns into the compliant nice guy, because that same seduction style will transfer into intimate relationships later on. But say you are kind of giving a little bit of pleasure to your parents, you're trying to make them laugh. Maybe you just open your eyes and make them really cute. Oh, but mom, oh, please, I promise I'll be good. Or maybe you learn to give them a mischievous smile, like you sense that actually being a naughty boy opens their heart and makes them laugh in a way. You're going to press those keys in order to get what you want. And as an example of this, look at animals, right? We've got cats. Cats have seduced us. They look at us with cute eyes, they meow, they come and give us a cuddle at certain times, really because they want to secure a roof over their heads and a constant supply of food. And so we feel that the cat loves us. Do cats love humans? It sure feels like it sometimes, but is it all a ruse for them to ensure their survival? Also as well. So I think by the ages of like 3, 4, 5 years old, most children have got a certain arsenal of seduction styles that are all about securing our own survival. And child actors are an interesting phenomenon in this, because if you look at child actors, usually they grow up in a big family of like 5 or 6 kids, right? They tend to be the youngest one or the second youngest one. What do you have to do when you're growing up in that situation? To ensure that you get enough food and attention at the table, not only do you have to have more effective seduction styles than your older brothers and sisters, so usually you're kind of hamming up your cuteness and your vulnerability in a certain way, but you also need to do it louder than your other siblings in order to get that attention in the first place. So the child actor is like, I need to make myself maximally cute and adorable and appealing, and I need to do it with maximal volume. And then you get someone who develops from a very young age the disposition to shine on stage. Are they a natural talent? Maybe, but they have certainly learned it in the child environment. So imagine that, you know, you're 3, you're 4, you're 5 years old. How do you get the things that you want? And what's interesting is when, you know, as an adult, and I found myself in relationships with different women, often I've noticed that I would employ some of these 3, 4, 5-year-old styles. And for me, it took some guidance and advice before I had the confidence to meet women and date and open up and begin relationships. And I felt like, wow, I'm just not natural at this. I needed some help or so on. But then I found myself in moments of relaxation and flow. Actually, I was natural in a way, because I had all these skills that I used to charm and seduce and flirt with older women when I was a little boy, and I would start doing that in relationship. So we have all these skills, and or we don't have them, right? Sometimes you just don't develop them as a child. Maybe if your parents are overbearing and controlling, there is actually no way to charm them through. You kind of have to submit to their way of being, and you don't develop some of these early skills. Now, I'm casting a light on this because, one, is it natural that you learnt these things as a child growing up? Yeah, it's a natural way of dealing with the situation. And these are psychological habits, mutations even, that happen, so you could adapt to your surroundings. I think they're more adaptations of the psyche than they are anything else. Now, what's important, I think, to understand as you become an adult is, if you keep seducing adult women the way that you seduced parents when you were a child, that might be really, really effective. But you might be attracting to yourself an overabundance of mother energy to you, and you might get stuck in your own childhood, little boy, mother areas. Now, you can make a relationship work like that, but you can also lose a deeper sense of trust and respectability if you don't grow into a bigger manhood and you're relying on the things that you used to rely on when you were 4 or 5 years old to get attention from your partner. I just find that really interesting, the whole thing of seduction styles. And often within seduction styles, of course, the child doesn't go to the parent and say, you know what, mum, you know what, dad, I really want another cookie. Would you give me another cookie? That capacity for honest, authentic communication is not cultivated. The seduction style has us go around the side. So, mom, I was just thinking, blah, 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 blah. And if you rely on such young child seduction techniques in order to try and get what you want, you actually are weaving webs of manipulation without having, which can be charming and fun sometimes, but if you lack the ability just to stand up and say, as an adult person, I want this, is that okay with you? You lose the possibility of being able to do such things and meet your partner face to face in an adult relationship, which is essential. Okay, next theme, and I think it's worth bringing up. I've met a number of men over the years that have slept with thousands and thousands of women, a good number of men who are in this category, and I believe it to be true, not boastful. You can tell if a man is inflating his notch count by 3 times or 10 times or whatever it is. Very, very honest, down-to-earth men who really have slept with thousands of women. And in most of these cases, also women who've slept with a huge number of men as well, most cases when I become very honest and intimate in my conversations with such people, because I've been deadly curious to find out how they did it and who they are, they have usually come back and told me that it is born from a sex addiction. And so it's an addiction or a compulsion to go out and get sex. It's not like they're calm and chill and unattached and these amazing things happen, but they have got the Jedi-like skills that they have developed because it's an addiction, they can't do anything about it. And a good example of this is the movie Shame with Michael Fassbender, where he is a Jedi with women. You know, he seduces with his eyes in the nightclub and on the metro. Women flock to him. He has sex that comes really out of a compulsion, and later on in the film you start to explore a little bit, where does that come from? He embodies the virile, capable ladies' man skill set that so many of us want, but it's built upon a fundamental psychology that we wouldn't actually want, right? So what is an addiction and what is a sex addiction? Well, addiction is a behavior that you cannot control, and how it works is you feel a certain pain inside of yourself, and in order to not feel that pain for a short period of time, you reach out for the thing that you're addicted to, right? So it's going to be alcohol, it's going to be gambling, it's going to be smoking, it's going to be coffee, or even scrolling on your phone. But if sex is the thing that you're addicted to, it's going to be, I need to reach out and find a sexual partner so that I don't have to feel the fundamental pain, trauma, vacancy, void, whatever is kind of eating you unconsciously within. And so what I also noticed about a lot of people with a sex addiction is often they had sexual abuse when they were young, 6, 7, 8 years old. Often they lost their virginity very early. There's often a boy in school who lost his virginity at 11 or 12. And he, you know, you might think, wow, that's really cool. I feel lucky if I get a porn magazine. You've lost your virginity and you're 12 years old. How did you do that? And often it wasn't by choice and wasn't through pleasure. Someone or something came together and he's engaging sexually at a very young age. What seems to be interesting when you're addicted to something because you've got a certain pain underneath, it's like the entire psychological apparatus goes out into the world and filters for ways in which it can compensate and fill up that void. So if you're a sex addict and already you've been suffering trauma, or you've had the vibration of sex and pain and certain emotions all kind of fusing together, your entire psychology becomes a machine of, where can I feel others who vibrate with a similar complex? Where can I get the kind of moments that are going to act as temporary balm for my aches? And so when you're 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, you're using your entire psychological mechanism to pass your exams or go into college, Whereas somebody who's got a burgeoning sex addiction is looking through the world. Where can I get the intimacy, the validation, the sexual contact, this kind of erotic, taboo confluence of emotion, pain, and sexual healing? Where can I find people that are willing to play in that playground with me like that? And I just noticed my fingers as I describe this. There is an anxiety to attract this in, right? So already as a sex addict, when you're in your early 20s, mid 20s, 30s, you've now got hundreds of thousands of hours of training for seeing the very minute possibilities that a woman might come and play with you. And I've certainly been hanging out with men who have, like I say, been with thousands of women, working in some way as gigolos, and this lifestyle stemmed from sexual abuse in a young age, and they go into a nightclub and they can just feel, out of 500 women here, who is the one who is gonna just come into my energetic system and collude with me to balm the pain of our hurt and our addiction through having sex. And so, does this make you a natural? Well, the most skilled and experienced people I've met in the sexual domain and the seduction domain are people that have spent their whole life with this, right? Does it mean that it's a terrible thing? Well, actually, I've met really beautiful, generous people. I've met people who have woken up from and through their sexual addiction and started to heal the emotion underneath, and they've wound up with incredible compassion. Like, there can be a real deep affinity and love for the women that they're with. There's just a lot of, in most cases, unexplored pain under the surface that's driving that. Does that make you a natural? This is the iceberg. What you don't see of the iceberg underneath a lot of men that you would call naturals is actually compulsion. And if you ask them to stop doing it, stop getting laid, take some time off, don't do this, then you're looking at someone who could be facing a world of pain, because that's their way of getting out of their own emotional angst. So I think you can see here, as we move into our fourth subheader, that what is a natural and what is an unnatural, there are so many entangled threads that it becomes complicated business. And so a natural also is learning skills, right? Whatever the fundamental psychological and emotional programming of the person is and was, they then, over the course of time, learn little skills to add to their bow. And you might think, wow, someone who learnt these skills when they were 12, 14, 16, 18 years old has grown up to become a natural. They just threw themselves out there. They discovered a lot of things. They've become a natural. You might even say that someone as an adult who learned a lot of skills to the point where they became completely unconscious about their competence is natural or naturalistic. It becomes very hard to define, actually, where you did this, where you got your skills from. And perhaps anyone that learned the skills of drawing in a sexual partner and creating a seeming form of abundance of the opposite sex in their lives, you might consider that anyone who is unconsciously competent is natural. They learn a lot of skills, they forgot where they learned most of their skills, they have a difficult time now explaining what they're actually doing and why it's working to the next person, because they tried for so many years, so much trial and error, that they ended up with a very personalized system which they've now become unconscious to. The system is just running and propagating and bringing in more and more results. And I think it's worth, there's that cycle of learning through stages, right? You can be consciously competent, get some results, your skills actually work and land, you're aware of what you're doing, but there's still a stiltedness, and part of you's in your head and part of you's in action, and you're learning, and there's that kind of methodical sense of being unnatural with it. But you cross over into becoming unconsciously competent about what you're doing. And ideally, when you hit those levels of competence in flow, you will become conscious again of what you're doing. So you may, teach it to another person, or you may just be accountable for the seduction and things that you're doing in the world, you actually have awareness of it for yourself and awareness of the people that you're intimate with in your life. So you can kind of fess up if you're doing things that are not authentic or even detrimental to your partner, but are entirely skillful at getting a certain result. So it's very useful to, after you're unconsciously competent in your skill set, then become conscious of it again. That's what I'm saying. So this is all to say, and it throws into question, who or what is a natural in this case? Is it somebody who learned all these skills and became unconsciously competent in the skills of attracting another person when they were an adult, or someone they did it when they were a child, or someone who did it from a book, or someone who did it from trial and error? I'm not quite sure the distinction between self-taught and natural here, because it seems like people we think are naturals are people who went on a learning journey that we're just not conscious or not clear about. It just happened when they were younger or less aware, right? So I'm going to go into the fifth topic now. And I think this is probably the most interesting one long term from a coaching point of view and what people want. And that's to define the word nature in a kind of spiritual sense, right? So we have true nature. Beyond any sense of ego or contrivance, there is a part of us that is pure awareness and is indifferent to material success or failure and is accepting of its fate. So if I was aligned or seated in my true nature, according to the spiritual definition, what would happen? I don't know. I'm awakened, I'm enlightened, I'm not attached to any particular thing. I have no aversion to any particular thing. I don't need to grasp women, I don't need to be seductive, I don't need to be attractive. And yet I generally am all of that because I am not enrolled in any activity of the ego. And so things might get attracted to me and I'm indifferent to them, but I might enjoy them because as pure awareness, it is still very nice to watch a sunset or an orgasming woman or to be in a really deep and joy-inspiring connection. But I'm just not attached to that. So one question is, if none of your ego stuff is running and you're sat in that place of true nature, how then does your life with women and attraction then play out? That's something to really sit in. And you might not get answers to that until you've meditated a lot and had some really deep insights into what your nature is. If you were the true nature version of you, then what would happen? There's another definition of nature or a person's true nature though, and this is more rather than the true nature of awareness and enlightenment, it's the true nature of going into one's body. And you might call this rewilding in a sense. If I was a beast, if I was an animal, I went so deeply into my body, my meat, my bones, the embodied sense of soul, so that I was not operating from mind and ego, but the animal of my body was awake and driving me through life. How would I then relate to women, right? So there's a lot more passion, there's a lot more sex drive, the reproductive biology kicks into place, our instincts kick into place, which is very different to the Buddha mind that we talked about a while ago. But if you were, let's say you lobotomized your ego and you were a high-functioning human animal, what would you then do in terms of attraction, sex, seduction? Would you be very carnal? Would you, go out and just attack and take someone down, devour their meat? Or the more kind of soft mammalian side of the street, would you just want to snuggle and cuddle? Would there be moments just for pair bonding and sweetness and sleeping together as a way to keep warm? Remember that primal experience doesn't mean sharp teeth and bloodthirst. Primal experience can also be this very primal need for sweetness and togetherness and for play. Cubs licking each other, all this kind of stuff. So if you were so in your body that you could feel your drives and your impulses and the way that they flow through you, how would you then approach women or draw them into your life? And that, if you want to go very deep into that, then you need to undergo a process of waking up the sensations, the urges, the motivations, and the needs in your body so you can feel yourself wholly as an animal being. As humans, we tend to separate ourselves from the rest of the animal kingdom and therefore separate ourselves in the process from our body. Now, this is the big mystery and the big unknown. And part of why I just don't have any resonance with dating coaching for results is that you kind of assume that the person wants more dates or more sex or a better looking girlfriend or a secure relationship. You predict what the person is going to want beforehand. But actually, if a person is deeply sat in their true nature, both awareness and the viscerality and the needs of their own body, you don't know what this person is actually going to want or need or choose ongoingly in their life. And it's certainly been my experience that the more in tune with awareness I am, the more in tune I am with my bodily needs, actually the juice that I drink from intimacy, the amount of saturation, beauty, emotion, meaning that I feel in an intimate encounter with a woman is a lot. When I was less aware, less in my body, I was more able to consume women like junk food. But now that I'm much more aware and much more in my body, every single intimate occasion is a gourmet meal. I want to take it slowly, it nourishes me very deeply, and I'm in no hurry actually to repeat the act for quite a while. I can get very fulfilled by it. And it's interesting that actually I become still craving of intimacy, but a lot less hungry for it. And my true nature may ultimately want to have relationships that feel and play out in a completely different manner to what my ego has wanted to play out in years gone by. And therefore, to be natural in this definition of the term, for me, has started to mean to actually be very slow, to appreciate every aspect of the entire process, and to not have any overarching, any overcompensated need to take from the world of women more of an excess than what I'm already getting. And what I see, what I believe about abundance is that pretty much every man on the planet has already got an abundance of beautiful women and feminine energy already around them, that if he was in his nature enough, he would see already, and that would fill him up without the need to be a natural in such a way that he had thousands and thousands of bed partners over the course of his life. So putting it all together, whether you consider yourself or are considered a natural with women or not, I think we're all a bundle of these 5 things, and I'll repeat them again. Your biological and hormonal and energetic structure and how that is in that moment in time. That is affecting you. Your childhood adapted patterns to get security, validation, food, and love from parents. Whether they're super helpful for you or unhelpful for you as an adult, they still make up who you are now. You have got also within that the pain that you try to avoid. And even if you don't consider yourself a sex addict, for sure there are ways that there is inner pain that you have yet to uncover and digest. And instead of feeling that pain and going through a deep experience of healing, there are certainly ways that you reach out, maybe just to other people, maybe just for a drinking buddy, maybe just for a little bit of light. I'll just have a phone call with this woman because she gives me some nice energy. I don't really have any intention to pursue her any further, but we meet each other's needs, and we mata saudades, as they say in Brazil. I kill a little bit of loneliness when I reach out to that person. So we're all doing our own version of how can I summon in connection with another human being right now so I don't have to feel the pain and the emptiness within, right? We also have all the skills that we learn along the way, whether they feel natural or feel stilted. We got them from a book or a mentor, or we learned them through trial and error. We are made up of the strategies that we have learned to employ to get more of what we want in our life. And then finally, we all have a spiritual aspect one that is kind of transcendent spirituality awareness, and also the deep spirituality of a primal body with its very primal animal needs. We are all made up of these 5 things. Each of these 5 things come together in ways that make us easily attractive to other people, or they come together in ways that give us a lot of difficulty when it comes to our dating and relationship lives. And I think any serious training that wants to help you become more natural, less forced, less contrived, less needing to put in a kind of effort, less needing to apply strategies to your dating life. Any serious approach to that has to take these 5 things into account. How can you take best care of your biology, your hormones, and your bodily kind of pleasurable energy? Can you turf up and uncover the childish seduction skills that you use? And if you have good ones, how can you couch those within being an accountable, responsible adult who also brings manly gifts to the table? And if you've got unhelpful ones, how can you do the healing that's required there? Third, really address the deepest motivation. How much of your hunger to get out into the dating world is fueled by pain and trying to avoid loneliness and angst and anxiety? And how much of it is, you know, you're open, you've got a gift to give, it's pleasure. And I've got to admit here, all of us have existential loneliness and a desire to connect as human beings. So it's not defective if that runs some of your motivation to go into the land of women. But it is nice that you look at women you're on a date with and say, yeah, from time to time I feel existentially lonely and I want someone to come in and balm my pain. It's much better to be able to say that than it is try and use women as balm for your pain, right? Any serious training is going to not only give you new skills for attracting women and relating in a deep way, it's going to look at the skills and the strategies that you've already slapped onto yourself and help you discern which of your current things that you're trying to do to be attractive are actually creating more separation. And I firmly believe that if you want to learn the skills of attraction and seduction, that's actually an advanced skill set. You're much better off learning fundamental principles of connection. Because if you fundamentally connect with another human being and you stay in that connection for a little while, that connection will grow. And if attraction, physical attraction, emotional attraction, intellectual attraction, if any of that is meant to be between the two of you, then it will arise in both of you naturally. There's not a lot you have to do to create attraction. Much better to learn how to connect. And then when energies of sexuality and so on start to arise, it is good to have the nuance and the ability to be able to lead with that, to enjoy that, to expand it and make it a very beautiful experience for the both of you. But the skill set is more about how can you connect in a fundamental, organic, innate way and let attraction co-arise and take care of itself rather than attraction skills so deluded that you can just say a line and attraction will come out of thin air, right? No. And then the 5th part of any serious coaching or training that is going to help you become more natural with the opposite sex has to have within it a deep spiritual or somatic component to it. Because without couching yourself and identifying yourself partly as awareness, you're going to get stuck in the human chase and the ego is going to be grasping at whatever it grasps at with women. As awareness, you're going to find the part of you that's indifferent, you're going to enjoy the whole thing and not be pulled into your ego's action. You can constantly hold yourself to account. Do I really want this, or is it my ego trying to get something? You have that discernment, and also you bring alive the needs of your body. Sex and intimacy happen through the body. If you're unable to feel your body or feel her body, then there is very little actual intimacy taking place. It's just two kind of body parts rubbing against each other, void of the whole sense of feeling that is what injects the meaning into our relationships in the first place. So these 5 things. Now, when it comes to learning about attraction and seduction, yes, it is very handy to have some naturals whatever that means, some very skilled, learned individuals as models or mentors in some kind of inner pantheon, people who you can go to either in real life or at least in your mind. What would they do in that situation? How does their archetype offer new options to me? How do these men that embody certain capacities open up and expand my worldview? That's very interesting to be able to do that. But to learn somebody else's skill set that they believe is the way of the natural without unearthing these fundamental things that I've talked about can just ultimately look like you slapping on somebody else's skill set onto an actual body mind that has not cleared itself out into the deeper level and gotten in touch with itself. And for relationships, it is self-contact, your ability to know what is your truth and how you feel in every moment that gives you the ability to continue in connection, be connected, and continue authentically. You cannot reference other people's methodologies as a way for driving through your relationship if it is to be any way connected or deep. That's just the long and the short of it. Now, finally, I'll share one piece that I've come to learn about seduction and attraction over the years. I think it's much more important to have good awareness game, awareness of yourself, awareness of women and the process of attraction, and it's much better to have good defense game than it is to have offense game, right? So you can have good offense game, go out into the bar, you can eat anyone you want for dinner. Great, it's nice to have some of those tools and skills, or at least the confidence that you can do that in the appropriate moment. But I think it's much better to have good awareness game and good defense game, which means, by defense, I mean you are not running into unconscious patterns and unconscious painful cycles. So a lot of men become easily seduced by the wrong kind of woman, and they follow their kind of painful conditioning into relationships that are super harmful. And it's interesting, I really like the book, The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, and I think later in the year, I'm gonna run a kind of book club or course based on his book. And when I first read this, I thought, wow, there's a manual about seduction, maybe I'll learn a few things. And then I read it, and it turned out to be the most Machiavellian power game, kind of corrupt, if you do this stuff, you are really going into the dark side and evil. But the beauty of the book, actually, which I later came to find, is I use it as a defense manual, which is when I notice that people are trying, usually unconsciously, to manipulate me, to seduce me, to coerce me into some unfruitful relationship pattern. I can see that coming. I can notice the parts in me that are triggered and that they might lead me into that destructive road, and I can just not go there and maintain my sovereignty. So defense game when it comes to seduction is to notice, when am I innocently drawn in to create a dramatic and destructive relationship, and can I notice my inner apparatus and then not do that? I remain aware, I remain with good defense, and then when there is an attractive woman coming close to me in my life, there's not actually a lot we need to do in order for that attraction energy to play out in a really beautiful way. Once you get in tune with a little bit of skills, a little bit of nature, and are not run by what's under the surface. So if you like what I've talked about in this video and you want to know more about my work, I have a list of links and courses below that you can check out. The LOTM is all about our fundamental connection to our body. And like I said, later in the year, I would like to talk more about the art and the shadow of seduction and unpack this more, like I said, as a book club to Robert Greene. All right, see you on the next one.